Headlines.
Headline. We don't have a headlines like
You need your
soundbite.
sound effects.
We have its headlines. It's headlines. It's headlines. So let's get into the first one here. I didn't hit that. Look, my hands. Look, my hands are here. I did not hit the button. I do not have a remote detonator for that button, guys. I don't have it. But let's get. Is job hopping the best way to advance in 2024? And I'm gonna kind of take a stab at this one here. This one's kind of been a hot topic in many different ways, especially on LinkedIn, especially defining job hopping, right? Because I think
Yeah.
job hopping kind of gets misclassified, unclassified,
Cloudy.
exclassified, cloudy, gray. Because in my opinion, there's folks who lose their jobs because of their own fault or because of the company, one way or another, because of the economy, because of what the heck's happening in this world. And then you can't really fault them. That's not job hopping. The real
Okay.
definition of job hopping is people that intentionally have short stays at jobs for one reason or another, either looking for career growth or guess what? Unfortunately, the real way to make more than 2 or 3%, annual increase on a raise is to, get that 10 to 20% raise on getting a new job, and people do that. As a
What's your
recruiter,
opinion of a short stay?
generally speaking, under a year. If I'm
Okay.
being very general on that one.
That's
If I'm
fair.
being very general, but listen, as a recruiter, when I'm screening somebody, it is my job to understand career gaps. Now, I'm not asking for a personal reason. You don't have to tell me if you say, "Hey, it's a personal reason." I'm not going to probe anymore. But if you start to get into it and you're opening up Pandora's box and you start telling me more things about the company, listen, and not every job works out well. Let's be honest about that. Some people are sold a wrong bill of goods in the interview process. Or on the other side of that, I'm a big proponent that candidates need to take ownership of the interview process and do their due diligence in the interview. So it
Yeah.
works both ways. But this idea of job hopping, the best way to advance in 2024, Danielle, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's necessary, right? Like job hopping, it forces employers to constantly be on their toes,
Mm-hmm.
be ready for people to make the jump, right? It forces you to kind of be adaptable, but more so, it forces them to improve the workplace, to focus on retention, right? Like people wouldn't leave if usually if you paid them enough, but more so if you give them opportunities to learn and grow. And that was
Right.
actually the number one reason why people leave their jobs in the last, I think, like 2 years in the running.
Right,
So
because they're not getting growth opportunities,
right. So
not just
so
not just monetarily.
exactly. And funny enough, when you ask people usually like, "Oh, why do you want to leave your job?" The first reason they'll give is money. But the second and more real reason is growth or
Well,
something
but
else.
let's define growth too, right? Because I think there's realistic expectations within roles. Right? I mean, growth is a little bit subjective as well. Like, how soon should
Right.
you be promoted? How soon? And I don't think it's necessarily always a title change. I think it's about ongoing taking on and giving more responsibilities or giving more opportunities to
Yeah.
step up.
So it's not about a LinkedIn profile, like just
It's not about updating your LinkedIn
Yeah, it's
profile.
about
I've
that
been doing it.
post.
I've been doing it so wrong.
Total.
But
I,
Yeah.
I think with job hopping, I mean, you got to do it strategically, right? Like this is the
mm-hmm.
big piece. I
Yeah.
think if you're my general rule to people is if you're in 2 to 3 years at the same position and there's no clear room for growth,
Yeah.
you need to start looking around
Agree.
because otherwise you're just going to look complacent. But the ideal situation is in that 2 to let's say 4 year period, you get a promotion. A lot of times companies don't give you the true market rate for that promotion.
Of course
You
not.
get kind of like an internal raise that isn't the same as what other people in that same position are getting. So that's really when you cash in is when you start to go, maybe you get recruiters
Well,
reach out to you who are like, "Hey, you interested in this opportunity?" You're like,
Totally.
"Yeah, I am." Then you can really capitalize. So I think there's strategic job hopping, and then there's just to Adam's point, kind of like, I didn't like this place today, so now I'm gonna look for something else. Now I'm gonna look for something
right.
else. You got to show some sort of like progression and usually, I mean, the job title can show some of that progression. I mean, if you go from director to VP to whatever, that's going to show that progression,
But if
right?
we don't see that, right, that's a red flag to me as a recruiter too.
That's a
If you're
huge
staying
red
if you're
flag.
staying kind of flat in the titles, right, like that's like you're kind of moving
That,
along
then,
quickly.
then that's when you
But
need to be able to show more scope, so maybe you had a same job title at a small company, and then you went to a large company, and you could say,
Right.
well, I was
it's
managing.
relative.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was managing 3 million. Now I'm managing 100 million. Okay, there's a clear, promotion there. But if you can't do that, to your point, it's not even a red flag to me. I just know it's going to be a red flag to a hiring manager because
That's exactly it.
there's so many books on this.
There's
You
so
know?
many. And right, and Joel,
Yeah.
I kind of laugh at the one that you always post too. It's like when
Thanks.
when the hiring manager asks, "Oh, tell me about your job gap. Tell me what," and then the candidate replies back, "Tell me about the last two people that left this position." Right? I think it's a two-way street, but it's a little bit of a slippery slope on that one, right?
I always tell people, like, look, I think you got to do your due diligence. You got to know about the company, and if
Mm-hmm.
you come in there, I mean, to me, an obvious one too is when people are like, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then, like,
Where is this
honestly,
company in 5 years?
I think you got to have discretion and how much you want the job. If I personally was asked that and I looked at the company and they haven't been around for 5 years, I would be questioning, like, well, what? Why do you, number one, why do you care? You haven't even been around for 5 years. And like,
Joel,
what's your plan in 5 years?
Joel is so unhireable. I swear to God, as a recruiter, you are beyond unhireable.
Yeah, but you know what? I
You are
might be
just
unhireable, but
contentious,
people,
and I would never
honestly,
hire you. I would swear to God, I would never hire you.
That's
I've
hilarious.
honestly though I found that when you do stuff like that, you just cut through the noise, and then
Most
some
people
people
should respect
appreciate
that.
it, people don't, and some people don't, and the people who don't, you're good, you know.
All right, awesome. Well, let's get to the topic du jour. Let's get
All
on to
right,
the
God.
Olympics, and this is Joel's one here. Joel,
all
let's get
right.
into Olympics surprising day jobs. What's this all about?
Look, I've been seeing this more and more. Right, we got the Olympics going on.
No.
I think if when I watch the Olympics, I'm assuming that all of these athletes are balling, you know, like they're making cash, and some of them certainly are. We know the ones that are, but there are lots and lots of Olympians that, uh, they've got surprising day jobs. They're doing other things. They've got side hustles going on, and really, to me,
They're
this is
selling
what
LinkedIn courses, right?
it's
That's their side hustle.
how to get a gold medal on your LinkedIn
What
post.
B2B, winning a gold medal taught me in B2B sales. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
look, it's not
it's
surprising,
a
but you
great
know what?
blog.
I did a thread on this that kind of went the wrong way. Well, it didn't
How
go the wrong
so?
way. It went viral, but people were mad about it because I said, I
People
basically
are always
said,
mad.
people
Joel's
are always mad.
polarizing. Joel's polarizing.
I do it for a reason. I'm trying to find where it is now. Basically, I said, if you think you're underpaid, think about Olympians. They train for 4 years, thousands of hours, and guess what? You win $37,000 if you win a
Well,
gold medal.
yeah, and not everyone's getting the endorsements, the Simone Biles endorsements. That's not the way this works. There's a lot of Olympians that do it for the love of it and they do it for the
Yeah.
support. But there's also a lot of corporate sponsors. I mean, Joel, what I hear about Flavor Flav? What did he do?
Look, Flavor Flav is sponsoring teams, but I want to
Women's water
actually,
polo, right? Women's water
which
polo.
I love, and I love that. But the Olympics, dude, they're getting paid billions. Okay,
Wait, but who
billions.
pays? Who pays for the Olympics, anyways?
I don't
Sponsors,
know.
sponsors. The IOC
And like
pulls
the
in
city of
sponsors.
Paris, like
They're not. They're getting paid, I think.
Everybody's making money except for the people who are
so
actually doing
interesting.
the sports, and I don't care. Like, it shouldn't be like that. And then, it's like I love Snoop Dogg, I really do, but then I hear the guy's getting paid $500,000 a day for
Good.
what he's doing.
Good for him.
Half
But
a
Snoop's
million
earned,
a day.
Snoop's
Showing
earned
up?
it. Come on,
That's
dude.
crazy.
No, I
But that's
love
his
Snoop.
job. But that's his job. But that's his job. His job is to broadcast and cover the Olympics.
That's
No,
Why
I
shouldn't he be
get
getting
that.
paid? And he's
Yeah, it's
bringing
like Alex
exposure.
Cooper.
Plus, he's going to be on The Voice, so it's cross promotion for that. It's a win-win for NBC.
I just want the people who are actually doing the sports to get paid. Is that
All
bad of a thing?
yeah, all I can think about
Go
is
pro.
Olympians having day jobs feels like heroes needing side gigs.
Joel has a
Like,
side
yeah, I can save the world, but also can I do your website kind of thing.
gig. Can I?
It's
Can I?
so
Do,
sad.
And
I-
look, it's the more the people who are not like the big names. Obviously, they're going to get the endorsements.
of
but
course.
name just anybody here. Can you name the 7th place person in 800 meters?
No.
What country?
It's not Adam Posner.
Definitely
So
not.
and
I'm not that
people are
fast.
saying, well, you should be number one. Nobody goes there to lose. Yeah, I get that. Okay, I'm just saying billion and then zero for some people.
Could have been you, Joel,
So
but
we
you
want
broke
more.
your arm.
We want more. We want.
And
We want
training.
more. We want more. Well, yo, Joe, what were you training for? Was that the shot put, the javelin?
I
We're
was
not even
training.
gonna get into the pole vault. That's
I was training. I was
other
training
sit-
for that marathon. I ran a marathon before. I did it in 4 hours. But
Dang.
whatever. Yeah, it's
Wait,
slow.
Danielle,
I could
what's your favorite? I mean, I've been watching a little bit. What's been your favorite sport to watch and why? Pole vaulting.
Yeah. Uh, I think it's a toss up between the gymnastics because it's so iconic, and watching
Okay.
Simone Biles, our Gen Z queen,
Mhm.
slay has been very fun. Um, but I also think synchronized diving
It's crazy. And
is
synchronized swimming too, which
crazy.
is kind of cool.
And they slow it down like in slow motion. I just it's mesmerizing. Why? Because the coordination and focus that it takes and like the alignment between two people, like you
Mm.
have to be so
Yeah.
Insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
It's like
like
when HR and
it's
TA
like when
are in
HR and TA are
line
in line
and they just
and
don't beat
the
around the
bone
bush,
beat
make the
bush,
hire.
make the hire. Are
Stop.
we synchronized podcasting?
We're trying. It's
whoa, you guys
failing.
Yeah.
are Olympic
A
level.
level.
What about did
What
you guys
about
hear about the new event they're thinking of adding next Olympics, which is who can blink first? And the person who doesn't blink for the longest, they
I'm
win.
I'm excited. I'm excited for breakdancing. I'm excited to see that, and obviously
Oh,
the
yeah,
basketball is
that's
gonna be.
cool.
My little dude's a breakdancer. He's actually pretty good at it. We're starting breakdancing. So Danielle, what's next over here? Let's
Well, I'm
keep this
curious what
moving.
people think in the comments too about their favorite sport to watch. But yeah, our next and our final
Oh,
HR headline of the day is about how to build connections with remote colleagues from our favorite organization.
uh,
Is that the Shermanator?
Yeah.
Big Sherm?
Basically, this story, it's focusing on people's biggest questions regarding how to build connections with remote colleagues, and essentially, they talk about a lot of different things, including virtual meetups and coffee chats and all the typical things that you would expect. But I think overall, it's really more about prioritizing that like remote first mindset because most of the time, and more often than not, the remote people are going to feel left out. I think the biggest thing here is like empathy, right? Like putting yourself in that position. I mean, I personally never worked in an office full time. I graduated into the pandemic in a remote environment,
It's
and
crazy.
my first day of work was logging on to a new computer and
I
meeting
did
my
the same
colleagues.
thing in the office, by the way. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, for real.
Very similar. You log in.
That's great. Yeah, that's exciting. But no, I didn't get to like walk in the front door, like decide, what I was gonna wear. I kind of just
So
wore
disappointing.
sweatpants. Yeah, it's sad because it's something you look forward to, but I think for remote people, it's not sad. I think a lot of people are choosing to be remote, but at the end of the day, they're just as much a part of the company as anyone else, right? So I think focusing on how do you make every experience that you're providing and offering at your company a great experience and like
Takes
an
work.
equal experience across the board. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it comes down to I think it comes down to leadership too, setting the example, right?
Yeah.
For these remote first cultures, are the leadership taking it seriously? Are they doing a couple of different things? One, are they giving folks a grace where not every call, every meeting has to be video? You want to give people the room so they're not always having to be
Oh
on.
my God,
In the
yeah.
same breath, being very clear that this is a team meeting and we would like for people to be on video. And then if you know you're going to be on video, you could prepare for it. And you could kind of get into that mindset too. I also, it's a tough one, right? Like during the beginning part of the pandemic, a lot of folks were talking about, yes, we're all comfortable sitting around in our athleisure and our pajamas and everything, but show up and dress like you're not like you're fully going to work, but at least get yourself showered and cleaned up and in that kind of mindset too. And that I think will resonate and ripple within an organization. Joel's shaking
Yeah.
his
No,
head.
I agree with you. Look, for me, it's intentionality. And
Agree.
look, I work solo. I work from home,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the biggest comments I get from people is like, "Dude, you check in with me a lot." Like I'm always calling people,
Mm-hmm.
texting people,
Yeah.
reaching out to people. It's called building relationships. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Relationships have switched to text messages. They've switched to FaceTime. I stay in touch with my grandma through FaceTime because she lives in the UK. It's just like this is not like some sort of just a work thing. This is just being human. Like check in, care. You hear some news about
Well,
somebody, send them a DM, send them a text message. It's basic. And you know what? There are
Yeah.
plenty of people in offices who are lonely as hell because their
yep.
boss doesn't care about them, and the
Yeah.
boss isn't being intentional, or they're just using token things like "How was your weekend? It
Hope
was
your
good. How
weekend
was
was
yours?
good.
See you
Keep
later."
tabs on people. Like
Happy
it's not
Friday.
that hard.
It's
And
not.
and,
It's caring.
and
Just check in.
also about that too, it's like I think a lot of the time, and I found myself doing this earlier in my career, even though I'm still in my early career, but like just leading with your intuition, like leading with your gut when it comes to those things and being like, "Oh yeah, like I'm thinking about this person," and then like just slack them, right? Like
Exactly.
it's not that hard, and I think a lot of the time, at least this like idea of professionalism can get in the way of our personal and interpersonal relationships and our ability to build
It's
connections with people because we have this veil of professionalism where like, oh, you're not supposed to do this or that. But realistically, like we're all human. Like let's just connect with each other and like have more empathy and think about each other because we do. And like
Yeah.
let's act on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you guys going, "Hey, Joel, how's your arm?" That means you're thinking about me. I can answer that question. Maybe I go, "Adam, how was your trip?" And that's because I heard you were on a trip. I cared enough to ask.
Yeah.
It's basic. I don't need to be face to face with you. Like, I'm great friends with Adam.
no,
We've
it's
never
bad
met
enough.
But you
in
don't need
human.
to be friends. You don't need to be friends to ask.
Yes, sharing,
Exactly.
and it means caring, just showing it a little way. So let's
Sharing
move
is
on to
caring.
our
Let's
next
all
segment.
care more.
Let's all care more, and let's care our way over to reacts.